This is a really cool series, at least the first season of it is, the first movie. But it's really problematic from a mental health standpoint. And like, there are some parts of it that I think are okay, but there's also some parts of it that are like, wow, like you're killing people that are mentally ill and portraying them as criminals. Yeah. That's awful.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anime Summit podcast. It's your favorite host of the most, Sam the Bomb, Paula Chiguala. And of course with me every week is Danny.
Hello, hello.
Knockington.
Hello.
And for this week's topic, we're talking about mental health and anime. And of course to do that, we brought in world-renowned Dr. William Nation. How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing great. How are you all?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you're on here because, so let me just start this off, okay, Doctor? I have this rash. I don't know if you can see it. But
He's not that kind of doctor.
That kind of doctor.
Oh, close enough.
PhD.
Just take a look at it real quick.
Maybe you should Google it.
Yeah, go to Dr. Google, Sam.
Just take a look at it. No, seriously, Dr. William Nation, everybody. He is a psychologist, and right, I'm not a psychiatrist, a psychologist. Yep. Yeah, and
what is the difference, by the way?
So,
I'm more of a tell me about your mother kind of a doctor, less than a take this pill doctor. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay, that's the difference.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I remember because it's my psychiatrist who prescribed me these meds I'm on right now, originally. And my therapist or psychologist is like, what's your beef? And I'm like, ground. I use it to make hamburgers. Duh, you idiot. Anyways. No, that's, yeah. So you're a psychologist, but what's really cool about what you do is, number one, you're a fucking nerd. Number two, you use that in your work. And
yeah, pretty much all the time, always.
Which is fucking cool. Is that something you coined or whatever, right? It's a thing you came up with, right?
Yeah, it's something that certain parts of it I've been sort of on the forefront of. And also there's a lot of people out there that are kind of just starting to have the same idea at the same time. So some of that's just luck.
Sure. So we're going to get into that with Will here. And in terms of anime, right? And more recently you were at Otakon, and which Danny and Kai and Sen and Entertain and all them were. And they didn't go to your panel, but they wanted to. I know Danny wanted to, and they didn't make it. But we can talk about that in anime because we're, that's what we do over here is we just talk about anime. I mean, you're actually doing stuff, whereas me and Nick and Danny are just yelling about cartoons. But that's what's kind of cool.
I mean, I do that too.
Okay, well that's to see it. Then it works out. Now we can collaborate, cohabitate, celebrate, Emancipation Proclamation, Celebration Nation. That kind of thing. So, that being said, I mean, let's just get right into it, huh? I'm going to tell you about this. Then, you go to links.animesummit.net, and that's where you can find every possible link to subscribe, listen to. There's the Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts links there, the YouTube where you can subscribe. My favorite link on there, though, is the Discord. You can join the Discord like Dr. Will did today. And he's in there right now talking to us and hanging out. So, I mean, that's fun. You can do that. Also, the Shopify is now open for patrons. So if you're a patron, it's open for you guys right now. I put up my latest Patreon post I put up a video on how to get into the Shopify with a password. So patrons get early access. So if you want to get early access to the Shopify for 2 weeks, starting today until October 1st, or yesterday till October 1st, you can become a patron and get early access to the merch. Or, of course, you don't have to become a patron. You can just wait until October 1st to get into the store and get some cool shirts and stuff like that. But Patreon is also an awesome way to get other perks, early things. Episodes drop early. If I finish editing them early, they get dropped early for you guys. Extra exclusive content, exclusive podcasts, things of that nature. So, Until then, and until October 1st comes around, I'll remind you when the Shopify is open for everyone. Okay, so some logo shirts on there. It's a basic logo. There's a mug on there right now. There's some other cool Weebery shirts that we're gonna drop. Just general Weebery, not necessarily Anime Summit stuff, but just like cool anime things and jokes and memes and such. We'll do in the future. So that's really fun. And then, Doctor, really quick, if you can tell us where we can find your info, link in the description, of course. But like, if you want to tell people where we can follow your work or subscribe to whatever you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. My YouTube channel is Dr. Goblin on YouTube. It has pretty much every presentation I do. So you can go back and look at things. I also post special topics and stuff about the work and things I'm publishing. There'll also be links and stuff if you want to get in touch with me via email and stuff. That'll be in the description. Also, you can check out my website, williamtnation.com. And my private practice website is Adloquium Psychological Services. So if you're interested in psychology-related topics in terms of clinical stuff, that'd be a good place to find me.
Hell yes. Thank you. And again, link in the description of this episode where you can find that. Okay. Other than that, let's just move right into it. Question of the week. Nick, what do you got?
All right. This week's question is from Hunter Tane, and he asks, if you were able to have any manga, light novel, etc., animated for the first time, what would it be and why? And no, you can't say Fists of Summit. Mappa will pick that up eventually.
That's a good one. Let me think about it just for a second, just because I've been getting into a lot of new manga lately. And let me think about that for a minute, because I don't know. Because some of the stuff some of the manga that I did think about, like even a couple of years ago, now have anime. So like,
yeah, a lot of the stuff is getting anime now.
Yeah, that's kind of like the thing now, right? Because I mean, obviously, like 10, 15 years ago, they would never. Anime adaptations didn't follow shit as closely as studios would do it now. So it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a recent one I started reading where I'm like, yeah, that should be an anime, or maybe
the one. Okay, I'm gonna say the most recent one that I would love to get animated. It probably is going to get animated eventually, and I'm really excited for that. Is Dandadan.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys like that one.
Yes,
right?
we love it.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's fucking great.
It's supernatural, ghost spirits and aliens. Like, what more can you ask for? Like,
yeah, it's literally both. It's really good. Yeah, that's really good. That's a really fucking good one. I've always said that I wanted an actual adaptation of Crows because they did like an OVA a while ago. They did an OVA like in the 80s, and it was like, it was an OVA, so it was like really bad, right? So like it wasn't like an actual adaptation,
like an actual series.
Yeah. I would like that, but I mean, if the question is one that's never been adapted before, maybe Goku Rakugai, just because that's like one of the ones I'm currently reading that's really fucking cool. That Goku Rakugai is so fucking cool, man. I love it so much. And maybe Kindergarten Wars. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an anime of that soon, though, because it's pretty fucking funny. Kindergarten Wars is really funny. Okay, no, you know what? I take everything back. Yankees. Let's go. Delinquent Cats. Two of my favorite things. Delinquent Cats.
Of course.
What about you, Nick?
I was scrolling through the My Anime list. I don't know why we don't have a Yasumi Poon Poon yet.
Oh, yeah.
That's supposed to be super depressing, so I haven't read it. I can't really comment on it. But what I have read some of is Yotsuba. That we should have.
You bastard, I think you took mine.
Oh, I'll change my answer. You talk about Yotsuba. You talk about that.
I got another one if you need it, so we're good.
Oh, okay, nice.
Okay. Actually, I can't really talk about Poon Poon because I haven't read it. I think the guy who made it, Inio Asano. Oh, he made the. What else did he make? Dead DDD Destruction. Yeah, you guys read that.
Oh, Asano. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Poon Poon would be a good one. I haven't read it. It's supposed to be super depressing. So yeah, I don't know. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Don't know who would make it.
What about you, Will?
Yeah, so Yatsubo was going to be one of my picks because I think it's just like I love wholesome series and I think it'd be cute. The other pick, which this is kind of cheating because it's gonna be an anime, it's in production, is "'Tis Time for Torture Princess."
Oh, dude, Trisha started reading
my
that.
God.
Fantastic.
My partner Trisha started reading that. She thought it was really cute.
You had me at Torture Princess.
Putting the title and then being like it's the most wholesome thing of all time is a wild disparity, and I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Oh my god.
Another
we didn't
one that
mention
I
Innocent.
Another one that I probably would love to get adapted would be Blue Box. We read that in manga club too, and I'm caught up, and it's so good. I want it.
Wait, Nick,
I
did
want
you
it
say
to be
Innocent?
adapted.
Yeah.
I said
disagree.
Innocent as well.
Disagree.
I don't know if I would want Innocent to be.
Well, they'd have to
adapted.
animate the crap out of it.
No, yeah, no one's gonna get that right.
Honestly,
It's gonna be.
I don't know.
CG.
I feel like the only way you would be able to get Innocent the way it looks would probably be like Studio Orange to do like 3D animated.
Oh God, no! It has to be traditional.
No.
I have an idea of how they would do it. You just wouldn't. Like, you just
I mean
don't.
that too.
Yeah, like,
Like,
just don't leave it. Please.
I can't honestly I can't picture Innocent getting
It's
adapted.
Yeah, no,
Like I can't. It's too like oil paints and all that. Like I can't. No. Nope. Sorry.
Oh, dude, they should do Catch These Hands also. Do Catch These Hands. I would love to see an anime
That'd
of
be
that.
cute.
That'd be cute. Yeah. Okay. Good question, Hunter Tane. You're a bitch. What's your answer? That's what I want. That's why I'm not now. Now we're asking you. What was your answer? Good question. Danny, waifu and husbando.
It's gonna be Will's pick. So, Will, what are your waifu and husbando picks?
Yeah, these are important. I know when you get to know somebody. Waifu pick, Saya from Dagashikashi.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, I love that one. That's so
Nice
It's
good.
a
one,
5,
mate.
and it's like
I should have
such a
picked that for
specific
my
type.
waifu.
Like everything about it works for me. Great, love it. No changes necessary. So that would be my waifu pick. First time I read it, the manga. I was like, "Yep, that's me," and didn't need to investigate anymore.
She has the fang. That's all you need.
The fang. Yeah, for me, it's like the jewelry. It's like the vibe of the look. Because I'm a non-recovering emo kid. So like,
Yeah, she's like a stylish country bumpkin.
yeah, look, and I am from Texas originally, so that kind of thing
Perfect.
can reach me in my soul. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my waifu pick. My husbando pick is actually the Hell Lord from "'Tis Time for Torture Princess." Like wildly weird looking, intimidating, and he's also like solidly great dad, real cute, relatable. Like he's just like, oh man, there's this new burger I wanted to get, and like I would have to drive all the way across town to get it, but like I really want to though, and I'm like, yes, man, you're speaking my language. Like that would be a good relationship for me.
Nice.
Good picks.
Man, I did not know they were making an anime of that. I'm excited to watch that now. I'm gonna tell Trisha about that. She's been having a lot of
Coming
fun
out in
with that
January,
manga.
allegedly.
Oh, okay, so winter block.
Yep.
Nice one, mate. And of course, y'all know that the doctor is first time guest. Okay, so what's an anime you love, anime you dislike, and or hate? Real quick, give us the 1v1.
Solid. So my favorite anime of all time is Evangelion. Yes, I know.
Nice.
It's stereotypical. I
Nope,
became a
it's-
psychologist, and I
it's
love
mine too.
anime. Yeah.
Yep.
No notes.
That makes 3 of us.
Yeah. Nick's favorite. Too.
Now we get to bully Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Nick.
That's how it works, man.
Me and Nick love it. Yeah, it's great.
Just yell the loudest, and you always win. Yeah. And then anime I hate. I actually hate Gurren Lagann.
Oh, come on. Dog.
Oh, same
That's a hot
studio.
take.
So.
Oh, you'd be
bad.
Kai's best friend because he doesn't like that one either.
We gotta get you to talk to Kai.
Yeah. No. Clearly. Look, the ending was bad. I tried to watch it. My friend like showed me the first 2 episodes, and I was like, not interested. He's like, okay, well, watch the first like 5. You have to watch them. Then He's like, oh, we'll speed forward to when like.
Oh, we got to add a spoiler bleep.
Oh yeah.
It's like and then like the ending is just so bad, and it like invalidates. Like I watched the whole series, tried to love it. I was in it. I was ready. The ending happened, and I was like, man, I hate this. Like, why did I watch this whole thing?
Dang, haterade.
Hey, that's good though.
Fair,
you love it or
fair.
you hate it. There's people who love it.
Good
so.
take. Good take. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Hot, spicy, but good. We love spiciness on here. We love when people's opinion is different than ours, obviously, because a lot of times we agree with each other, but a lot of times we disagree with each other and we yell at each other about it, and people seem to like that. So, anyways, Danny and Nick, you guys are wrong about everything. I'm right. So fuck you guys.
All right, Evangelion sucks then.
Oh, come on. Well, okay, hold on a second. Hold
Hoisted
on.
by your own petard. Hoisted by your own petard.
Hold on, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, that's funny, Will, because I actually love the rebuilds, and Nick didn't enjoy them that much. You know what I mean? So that was kind of one.
Yeah.
That was kind of one thing that we.
I liked aspects of them.
Because me and Nick are probably. Me and Nick are probably the biggest, and my cousin Remy, Mario, are the biggest. I consider the three of us like the biggest Ava fans that I personally know, and Nick didn't enjoy those like me and Mario did, or Kai did. Even.
Oh, what are Dr. Williams' opinions on the rebuilds?
Yeah, quickly,
And, like,
just real quick. What's
real quick?
Yeah, what's your opinion on the rebuilds?
It's I like all of them in different ways. I think
Sure.
the rebuild did some things that I really enjoyed, and then there were some things that I was like, I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Okay.
My favorite part though is that Evangelion will keep getting made until Hideaki Anno dies, and then probably after he's dead too. So we'll get endless adaptations and versions to like debate about until the heat death of the universe.
Oh god, they're gonna destroy it like Star Wars
I hope
and
not,
every
man.
other property.
Oh,
I hope not.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I can't
Just
wait.
cash
can't
grab
wait.
everything. Ugh.
So thank you for that.
right.
Yeah, Evangelion, you love Gurren Lagann. You were not a fan.
Gurren
of.
Lagann.
Lady Gaga.
I watched that.
Lagagon.
You weren't a fan of Lady Gaga. We get it. Okay, yeah, she had the one record out. It
Yeah.
was okay. Yeah, jeez.
Meat dress. Yeah.
So okay, Dr. William, you are a psychologist, and you kind of answered my first question earlier, I guess, in the episode. But I mean, now it's kind of your main focus of your profession now, and obviously you offer, regular services, of course, too, like without the nerdy stuff in it. But most of the
Sure.
time, you are doing it with the nerdy stuff with your. That's almost your main thing, right? Like with the D&D.
Yeah, I will say a lot of the time. Yeah, it's at least a decent amount of my week, and a lot of the clients I see have some sort of nerdy aspect to them that we talk about.
For sure. And I will say this, I haven't played D&D since I was in high school, and recently I did I started a one shot with some friends and my partner, and it's super fun right now. I'm drawing our characters right now. Super fun. I was like, man, I can't
I think
believe
one
we're
shot's the way to go because you're done in a day.
Yeah. Yep. This
That's
one we're doing
that's
right
my
now.
preference.
This one we're doing right now, he came over a little late, so we have to do it in 2 sessions. But yeah, it's super fun. But I mean, that's super cool though. And I do want to mention, it's no secret that the three of us have talked about our mental health maybe mostly me and Danny, Nick, not as much, but obviously the community that we've cultivated in our Discord is very open, obviously. It's, it's very there's no judgment here about what y'all are going through. We hope that you guys use our podcast to hopefully take you away from all that and have a good time and forget about things. And hopefully we're a stress reliever for you and that kind of thing. Right. And very open community, not 100% open door policy. Obviously I'm not a doctor but it's we don't feel alone in there, and so I think it's kind of cool that you're on here talking to us now, because obviously I've been pretty open about my mental health on this podcast numerous times, or even on solo casts I've done on the Patreon channel or whatever. So how do you, I guess I would say at Otakon, and I don't want you to repeat your whole fucking panel from Otakon on here. Obviously, you don't have to do it
if you want.
Yeah, because you're gonna upload it on your YouTube channel. I know you told us that earlier, but what was that panel about? Because I know Dani was there. She told me, but I forgot. What What were you talking about at Otakon?
Yeah, so the cool part was at Otakon, I think I did like 4 or 5 panels.
Oh shit!
Most of them were about mental health. So first one, I talk about hikikomori, which is actually what I wrote my dissertation on. It's like social isolation. The reason I got started in doing that research was anime, and so I kind of talk about the anime stuff that got me into it and the real world like mental health components of that. So that was the first one I did. I also did a workshop about communication skills, helping people talk to people in their lives about anime, especially when those conversations can be difficult or problematic. Talked about that. And then I did a panel about mental health as it exists in Japan, and how that influences the anime we watch. Because, a lot of anime we watch either are overtly or covertly affected by mental health of creators, of culture, of, watchers. So something I educate people about in terms of, as I know it, how things happen in Japan and what we might learn from that from watching our favorite anime.
Well, an example, right? Evangelion. That's like a big one that a lot of people talk about, like the Anno and what he went through and all that stuff. And right, but like not even just, man. Sometimes I just wonder. We were talking about Innocent a second ago, right? And like, watching Shinichi Sakamoto draw, I just wonder how he looks at the world when he's drawing. It's kind of interesting. I kind of want to poke around. So it's one of those things where it's like, you admire an artist so much you want to poke around in there, right?
Oh yeah. But I will say that there's some shows and things also that I think lend themselves. Like, I question how this person perceives reality, right? Like, I talk about Psychopaths on my YouTube channel a couple times, and Urabuchi is a good example of like, he does weird things in his series, and like some of those things might want to be examined, but that doesn't mean he has a problem. It's just a psychologically interesting creation relationship.
For sure. So I know you mentioned Evangelion was one of the ones that kind of is one of the ones you cite as kind of getting you into. Is there any other anime that you use an example when talking about mental health? Is there certain things where you're like, or is there a certain anime that you cite where it's like, oh, this one is a good representation of this or what you're going through or that kind of thing? You know what I mean? Like, full disclosure, right? Like, for example, let's just say this. All right. I have bipolar. So if I were in your office and I said, I've been dealing with this really bad, and there was an anime that you would cite to be like, oh, well, this is how this character dealt with it or something, and you wanted to recommend it to me, or how would you approach that, I guess?
Yeah, so sometimes it's kind of like you're describing. It's related to something specific going on for somebody. Sometimes they bring it up. Sometimes I bring it up. I certainly haven't seen everything in the world.
Sure.
Sometimes it's also like you build in an example that resonates for people, or it's something from my own life, right? Like, I've definitely experienced depression, and Evangelion's a really easy way to talk about that. Or in my dissertation, I cited Welcome to the NHK because it's an actually pretty accurate depiction of hikikomori in anime. And I also cited Sayonara Zetsuba Sensei because it has some like pretty interesting mental health content in it. And that's actually one of the first times I saw the thing I ended up studying in a series. So it's a nice like closed loop in that way.
Sure.
But they don't always come from me.
Sure. And for the record, for the listeners, if you didn't hear it earlier, hikikomori is like severe social withdrawal or isolation.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, that's wild.
Yeah. Welcome to the NHK. That's the big one.
Yeah.
That whole show is about it.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually about also the moment in time when the show was created, or when the manga was created, because the NHK is a broadcasting company, and a lot of people that were hikikomori, the NHK was airing specials about it at the time. And the people that were hikikomori were very upset about, or at least some of them were very upset about that, because it was a widely publicized condition and people were starting to know enough to identify them. and talk about them, which was upsetting.
Yeah. I was gonna say this next question on here, but I think you just answered it with "Welcome to the NHK." Is there so like anime often features fantastical or exaggerated elements? How do you think these elements affect the portrayal of mental health issues in anime? And or could they, can they still provide valuable insight into real world mental health struggles?
Sure. Yeah, I think it really depends on the literacy of the people watching it in some ways. Because some people just, they'll miss certain allusions or references to things.
Sure.
But I will say that sometimes a more abstract portrayal of something is more accessible for people because it isn't like, here's this documentary of someone talking to a doctor about this. It's like, here's a real world portrayal of somebody dealing with something. And, if you can read between the lines enough, maybe that resonates for you, or maybe you see some of yourself in that. So there's that piece of it. Sometimes it's easier. I will also say that one of the things I use a lot in treatment is sort of what I would call like the healthy psychological distance between you and whatever the informational content is. So if you can like watch an anime, for example, where there's like several levels of abstraction between you and the anime character, sometimes that makes it more subtle what you're watching, but you still internalize it. You still identify with it. And for some people, that distance allows them to kind of safely handle a topic that, that might be distressing if it was really in your face, especially with, if you put certain kinds of content in something, you are likely to have somebody watching it that gets upset or offended or,
re-traumatized.
Put in a bad mental place. Yeah, re-traumatized, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think anime itself is a nice abstraction.
Sure.
Just because it's a cartoon, it's like more relatable and also like it's not real. Well, some people know it's not real.
Some people know it's not real.
But yeah, that's a good comment there.
Well, I almost kind of like it's kind of funny that you say that, Nick, because that's almost kind of like like when I'm sad or angry, I'll go listen to sad or angry music, and it's my mom has always been like, why would you go listen to something that's sad or angry if you're sad or angry? Why not listen to something happy or upbeat instead? And I'm like, because it makes me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's like, why would you go listen to, why would you go listen to, when you're angry, why would you go listen to Hammer Smash Face by a Cannibal Corpse? So because I want to fucking smash someone's face with a hammer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. Except I'm not gonna.
Title.
Yeah, it's like it's in the name. Like, you know what I mean?
It's cathartic.
But I don't want to fucking go to jail, so I'd rather just listen to this. You know what I mean? But that's almost it's interesting that Nick says that, because it's exactly like it almost like you don't feel alone, right? But I think if there was an anime where it was like, here's a depressed kid or whatever, and this is their exact same symptom you have. Look how they struggle with it. I think if it was in your face like that, it would make me feel bad. You know what I mean? Like, versus watching another character go through similar things, but not like maybe necessarily having the exact same symptoms as I do or what have you, I suppose. But like, I guess like, obviously like there are bad depictions of certain things, right? So like, are there any examples of anime that you watch? Like, cause obviously you're out here watching anime to like, not only help with your work, but obviously because you enjoy it, right? But like,
oh yeah, sure.
Has there been a time where you were watching something for the first time and you were like, oh, that's kind of a weird depiction of that, but you still kind of enjoy it and you just don't use it for your work? Like, you still enjoy it, but like, you don't use it for your work, obviously. But like, has there ever been a time where you saw something and you were like, oh, that's terrible? Like, why would they write the character or something this way?
Yeah, I will say there are some that are pretty rough. So like, for example, Rising of the Shield Hero is a good example, where like, that's a really unhelpful portrayal of something that's really important. And I'm not here to say like they're entirely wrong in it and it's not clever and artistic, but like, if I was writing that, I wouldn't have done that. Another example is Psychopaths. Like Psychopaths is a really cool series, at least the first season of it is, the first movie. But it's really problematic from a mental health standpoint. And like, there are some parts of it that I think are okay, but there's also some parts of it that are like, wow, like you're killing people that are mentally ill and portraying them as criminals. That's awful. Like, congratulations. You've set things back a long time.
Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
It's that level of thing where it's like, man, like this is outdated and it's kind of rough. And I understand like it's a clever like dystopian situation. And, you know, I certainly a lot of people that watch it don't get any negative message from it. But
sure,
if somebody watches something like Psychopaths and comes away with people that act different or have different mental health than us are dangerous, like that could kill somebody. And like, don't be doing that.
Right. So have you seen all of Psychopaths?
So full disclosure, I have not watched like the later seasons and the later movies, because you know I got my fill in the first one. I think I watched like the second season and was like, that wasn't as good as the first season.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I've done that plenty. Sometimes it just like it turns you off enough where you're just like, or you're just bored with it at that point. You're just like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I totally relate to that, I guess.
I have a question. Have you ever analyzed Wonder Egg priority?
Oh, that's a good question.
I haven't actually.
Ooh.
Could you please?
Well, first of all, have you watched it?
Not enough to talk about it off the cuff. I'd have to like sit down and
like rewatch it. Yeah. Okay. Because like when I first watched it, and I'm sure some like knows as well. Like for me, it definitely resonates in like at least for me, and like mental health and what value of people for me resonate in that show, and just how the characters deal with a bunch of things and all the events that happen in that show. So I was just curious, like if you ever, did like.
I thought you didn't like it.
Me? No, I loved it. I don't know where you got that information from.
No, that was me, Sam.
Oh, because I remember.
Actually, no, I didn't. I did not like. I thought it was good, but
I remember
you guys liked it a lot more.
I remember Danny saying that she didn't like the ending or the last episode, and then or something. I don't know. Anyways,
that was me.
I was pretty sure it was both of y'all. Anyways,
which one is Wingus and which one is Dingus?
Both of you. No, yeah. Wonder Egg priorities. If Evangelion didn't exist, that's probably that's my favorite thing ever. It deals with suicide in girls in Japan, in teen girls.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so it's very trauma heavy. There's a lot of depiction of traumatic things in it. So trigger warning. But like,
sure.
It's that would be interesting to talk about with you, honestly. And obviously, like, I don't want to be like, oh, well, I know a doctor, and then I just, fucking go with you with every fucking mental health traumatic thing ever. Like, I don't want to do that. But if I had to, I would say that one. Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't even think about that one. But yeah, I've rewatched it like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I love it. A lot of people did not like the last episode. I personally loved it. But yeah.
Are you talking about the special that came out?
Yeah. The ending.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what happened in that.
I remember nobody liking it except for me and like 2 other people. Like, that's what, but like, yeah. Anyways, good question, Danny. Yeah, you should. There's our recommendation to you. There you go.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for stuff that like has good content in it, so I appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah.
Another one I would say is Penguin Drum. I feel like that one, if you haven't seen that one yet,
I have not.
Yeah, that one is like another kind of like
That's another heavy one.
it's a heavy hitter. I mean, I have like me personally, I have a hard time watching it because of my past trauma and with relationships and stuff. So like, but I did enjoy it when I did watch it. The show just reminds me of like a person that I watched it with, and it's like one of their favorite anime. So I kind of like get triggered by it and like thinking about past stuff that happened in my life. So, but that one also has like hidden messages of, you know, between like the two characters and their sister and stuff like that. So, yeah, that one's another really good one.
I think the way Ikuhara directed it, it's just like,
I mean, Ikuhara is like, Sam, you were talking about picking brains of creators. I would love to pick.
Crawl in there.
I would literally crawl into Ikuhara's brain, like just to see how he ticks. So
I personally enjoyed Setazanmai a little bit more than Penguin Drum.
Yeah, Setazanmai was really good too. That one, I mean,
I had a catchy ED, OP. I forget which one.
Both. Kai might think I'm a bitch for that one, but like, we always talk about Kai on here. We're always like, Kai's gonna hate us when we say this, but but no, that's a good question also, Danny, because like Wonder Egg Priority almost kind of blends genres in a way to kind of just tell this one message, which kind of leads me to this question that Nick had on here. Like anime obviously has a diverse range of genres, from romance to horror, shonen, whatever. Do different genres kind of take play in like how you handle certain mental health themes or in your work, I guess? Or like, does one genre perhaps, in your experience or in your opinion, I guess, handle some mental health depictions more effectively than others? Like, okay, for example, right? Here's a good like example for this question to go along with this question. Hikikomori, right? It's like self-isolation or people who are nervous or don't have friends or whatever. There's Komi can't communicate, which is like, she doesn't want to isolate herself, but she just has a hard time verbalizing and talking to people, right? There's of course other anime where like Bocchi the Rock, that's another one. Both these animes are considered like, you know, Komi is considered like a romance and a comedy, where Bocchi is kind of considered just a comedy. Do you think maybe Komi portrays that anxiety, that social anxiety well, versus like maybe a more dramatic anime with a character with the same issue? Or, you know, like if there's a drama or a horror that has the same kind of character as Komi, has social anxiety or heavy anxiety, do you think one would depict it better than the other? Or and just so you're aware, I mean, I've heard that the kind of social anxiety that's portrayed in Komi is pretty well portrayed, but like, I don't have that. I'm ambiverted, so I wouldn't know, I guess. I'm very talkative. I'm on a fucking podcast, for God's sakes. But like, you know, do you think one genre may make it worse, or do you think that's all on the writer?
Yes, that's a really good question. I think if we were to paint with a really broad brush, I think there are some trends. I will say like things like shonen kind of stuff sometimes don't deal with things super well, just because the priority is elsewhere. And it's like,
sure,
here's this horrific stuff happening, and we're not going to pay attention to that because like these dudes are punching each other in the face. And you're like, yeah, fair enough.
Right.
I will also say that sometimes it really depends on like the context that the show takes place in. So like, for example, comedy can be a really good example, where you can get really authentic portrayals of something that makes sense. And also, if they're structuring the joke so they're making fun of the person that's having the problem, that can actually be really hurtful. That's actually a thing in Hikikomori, where it's like, if you go back 15 or 20 years, like all of the anime, they're all making fun of them. They're all joke or villain or something like that. And that's really hard versus like a lot more modern stuff. Yeah, those characters are still funny, but they're sort of in on the joke now. And like we're all having fun together, which I think is important. I will say things like romance sometimes portray some things really well and some things really poorly. So for example, like sometimes romances, if they're not a particularly sunny romantic show, show you really what really bad relationships look like.
Right.
Which is valid, but you know, because nobody wants to watch a healthy relationship in a show, or if they do, they want to sparingly. Horror can be another issue because sometimes horror can handle things really nicely in an allegorical kind of a way. And sometimes like, here's this person who has this mental health thing. They're murdering everyone. And you're like,
yeah,
that's not great.
Yeah. Because they were deprived like this and had this as a child or some weird thing like that or whatever.
Yeah.
They're
which
now
I
a
understand
villain.
is like a function of narrative, right? Like you need to have someone understand why the character is like that, but also like a yandere, for example. Like this person is unhealthy obsessed with a romantic partner and like is stalking them and maybe going to kill them. Like that's an issue because that's actually a thing that happens. And you know, portraying it as like a villain or as a joke or something like that might diminish the impact of it. I will say it does depend on context too. Like for example, Sayonara Zetsuba Sensei is a show that handles a lot of things pretty well, and also like it has a really wild and nonsensical portrayal of hikikomori. So it's like, okay, so you can even miss like within shows sometimes, and you know, adaptations and things happen and change over time. So you know, what used to be working maybe didn't work now if you watch it, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it's also important to say too, like you're not necessarily saying for the anime that you're saying that portray them poorly, you're not necessarily saying that people can't enjoy them, but maybe to just have like a conscious like awareness of, hey, this is not a good depiction of this kind of thing. Right. Like, I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I do a lot when I go to cons and talk to people is talking about like literacy, mental health literacy of media, because it's not that anime creators are like sitting behind their desks and like drawing things to make mentally ill people look bad. It's that maybe they have their own biases that are leaking out onto the page, or maybe there's something cultural going on that's different from whatever culture you're based in, right? And also just being aware of the portrayals that you are shown of stuff. Like if you only get one kind of portrayal of one kind of person, you should probably look for a different portrayal. Not because that portrayal is entirely wrong, but because it would be useful for you to have a different point of view. And look, we all enjoy problematic stuff or stuff that isn't accurate or things like that.
Sure.
That's totally fine and normal. It's just as long as you don't like uncritically internalize information that you've received and then like regurgitate it onto other people, that's when the issue would happen, probably.
Well, I think that's like one of the biggest issues in general, in just life in general, right? Is people have a paper thin understanding of the world. You know what I mean? And I think even my yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I think even myself, you know, there's things that happened to me in recent years that I'm learning to adapt to, and I have to unlearn biases and things I've had in my mind that I inflict upon myself and people around me that I have to like get rid of, right? So,
and that's a big thing of like if you watch something too and you internalize it and it makes you feel a way about yourself. Sometimes that's the point of art, but sometimes it's also like, oh, why do I feel really bad right now? I don't understand. That's sometimes a question that you should ask somebody.
Right. Well, I remember it's really funny you say that because like I remember when Nick first got us to watch School Days at the beginning of our like 8 years ago.
Oh, have you seen School Days?
I have, in fact.
Okay, yeah.
You have. Okay.
So, you know that the main guy is a dick, right? Like I fucking tried to say I hated the anime because I hated him. And I remember he's not a host anymore, but Quokka, he works on the background of our stuff. He was like, oh, Sam, maybe it's because you see some of yourself in that guy. And I was like, shut up, dude. And then
Savage.
And there was a time in high school where I hurt some people in a similar way. So we'll just say that. I'm not going to get into it. But like, I did do that. So like, maybe that's why I hated it so much. And, thinking about School Days now, when we made Danny watch it like a year ago, now I love it. And I love it for what it is. And Nick kind of...
Oh, so you like School Days now? Okay,
yes.
Oh, that's right. Danny still hates it. Okay.
Yeah, Nick got me on the correct path, if you will. But that being said, also, I recognize that it also has probably bad depictions of certain things.
Oh, yeah.
But like for what it is, it's like its unhingedness is what I enjoy, right? So like, but that being said, yeah, no, like you like seeing yourself exactly like, it's like, oh, maybe instead of getting mad at myself, I should just, do a little reflection, maybe look inward kind of thing, which like not a lot of people know how to do, right? And I think that's
Sure.
maybe that's why I was so excited to reach out to you after Danny told me, because Danny was the one who was like, this person was at Otakon, it'd be cool to talk to him. I was like, oh shit. And so like, I was like, God, that'd be sick, right? Because obviously like I'm, and doctor, I have to tell you, like, I'm 33 years old. Okay. There's things I'm unlearning now.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken me 30 years, 33 years.
I can just picture Will with like a notepad
and me laying down.
Son laying down.
It's taken me 33 years of struggling to learn and unlearn. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I think
that's everybody, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think more often than not, I'm not nice to myself enough to like give myself some grace. You know what I mean? Like, hey, dude, you're still kind of a hoe when you should be a slut. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So
look, that's actually one of the like wildest things that happened in psychology in the last like 10 or 15 years. Like this one like woman who was doing research was like, you know how everybody talks about how they like we have self-concept and self-esteem, and she's like, what if we just be nicer to ourselves? And like did some research about it, and it changed everything. And people like overnight were like, holy shit, maybe we should just be nicer to ourselves. That's wild. Let's just give that lady a position, give her money, like let her do whatever she wants. And I'm like, it's wild to me that was the one straw that people were like, oh yeah, maybe I should do that.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, hold on, I think you just did something. Like,
because it's hard to do that though, because the world is a harsh fucking place.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's like, oh, if I'm not perfect, it's fucking my fault. I fucked everything up.
I wouldn't get in the robot.
I wouldn't get in the robot.
Get the robot.
Well, that's a good question too. Is there an anime that you can think of that you would cite that you could be like, hey, this is a good example of someone having that kind of epiphany, like they realize that they're stronger than they think and they should be nice to themselves to try and get past this kind of thing? Is there any you
not
could
counting
think
Evangelion
of?
Besides that one?
Besides Evangelion, right? Because obviously in the rebuilds,
Yeah, right.
he started doing that, obviously. But like,
the original too. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Depending on how you read it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there actually. Some of them are more like metaphorical than others. I will say a really nice example, and I'm sure I'll probably talk about it again in the course of this podcast, but A Silent Voice is a good example.
Yes.
The main character just being like, wow,
Danny's
I suck
favorite.
a lot. And you're like, yeah, you do. You are the worst. And
So
like,
good.
even in trying to repair damage, like we're still not doing things the right way is a really important insight that like you can change, you can do things differently, and you can still transgress and harm people. And like, because you're doing it wrong, because you need to like ask yourself one more question. And that's legit. I tell people that all the time of like, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, ask yourself a question. And if you can, ask yourself a second question, because the more questions you can ask yourself about whatever sensation you're having, the closer you're going to get to what the thing actually is, because it's almost never about whatever the thing is. Like you're mad that the clerk at the grocery store didn't take your coupon. Like it's not about the coupon. It's like, it's about something else. And the more questions you ask yourself, the better you're going to get at finding it.
Right.
Yeah. Like if you get mad at a video game.
Right.
Yeah.
Nick, Nick.
I'm gonna
Nick,
give
we
up. Let's
don't-
just forfeit. Let's
We
forfeit.
don't always have to get like surrender 10
Surrender, Danny.
seconds into
Surrender.
into Unite. It's okay.
It
We
gets
just started.
10 seconds in a Pokemon Unite
Hey.
match. Dude, we're done.
I've
Move on.
improved.
Unite's my
I've
favorite.
improved slightly. Oh, you and Kai are best friends already.
Dude, yeah, you guys should play. You guys should play.
This is the whole
Unite's
point
my
of this episode.
favorite.
We're just trying to introduce you guys.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
Oh,
so
man.
glad that you mentioned a silent voice. That honestly made my night. I feel like not a lot of people talk about a silent voice and how
Better than your name.
you know. I don't care about your name.
It's way
Silent voice is much better. Has a much
Oh
better.
God! Everybody
metaphor,
take a drink.
In my opinion.
Everybody take a drink. Danny
Like-
compared him.
Just don't care about your name. I'm sorry. Just the fact that a silent voice, one main character is getting bullied and the other character is, obviously bullying her and stuff. But then later, once he gets into high school, he realizes that he's like, I did a bad thing when I was a kid and I'm sorry and I want to do better. And, just raising awareness, and sticking up for her and everything like that was just, it made me cry. Like, it was so good.
it's honestly a fantastic example. And like, also, I think it does a really good job of not just portraying the obvious of like, here's a bully who is reformed and he has struggles. That's good. That's art. That's whatever. But like,
yeah.
restorative justice, truly being forgiven and truly being a good person isn't like doing it for yourself. It's not like if I
Mhm.
do this for this person, I will feel better. It's what does this person need to heal from this thing that I did to them? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't hit it exactly dead on every moment, but it does a really good job of just being like, hey, part of the problem of your journey of self-exploration is it's about yourself. It
Mhm,
needs to
mhm.
not be about yourself for about 10 minutes here for you to really understand the impact of the thing. And I think that's, a really good example of things that you can say, hey, that's actually worth thinking about because, as we said, like if you can introspect a little, if you can
Right.
reflect openly about some of that stuff, like you might not like what you see all the time, but that's part of being a people, right? Is like you can dislike things and then do something about it, which
Mhm.
that's how it has to happen though. You can't just have it done for you, right? You
It's
can't
messy.
just decide. Yeah,
It's messy.
Absolutely.
Me and
Have
Nick.
you seen? Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I was just
go
gonna
ahead,
say.
Nick. Or
Yeah, go ahead,
okay,
Nick.
never mind.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Have you seen Hibernate Renmei?
Oh yeah, Hibernate.
That's another one where forgiveness is kind of a big theme.
It's a big thing.
I have not. I think I've maybe watched like the first episode. I need to like finish it though.
That might be a good one too. For
Yeah, it's kind of an ugly show, but it's very powerful.
it gets
so,
done. Yeah, it gets done for real. Yeah, that show's tough. I was gonna say at the beginning because me and Nick have been friends since high school, and we hadn't really hung out or talked to each other that often until we started doing this podcast. In the beginning of the podcast, we were at each other a lot. More so, I was at him a lot. And there were some times where like I fucking shouted some stupid shit to Nick. And
yeah, we both did, to be fair.
there was just one night, Nick, where sorry, I'm about to cry. But like there was one night where Trisha was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know, dude." And I had to really like, as I like to call it, I had to Psalm down, right? Because my name is Psalm. I had to Psalm down a little
Yeah,
bit.
you had to go to the World Domination chat.
I had to go to World Domination. But yeah, no, it's messy. It's messy.
yeah.
It's not like a thing where you're just like, you just make the bridge and get over it. It's like, no, you actually have to go and like buy the wood and the hammer and the nails and all of the other equipment you need. And then you have to maybe ask for help. You have to You have to buy the protective gear to put it together. You have to get safety goggles. You have to do a bunch of stuff. You know, you're probably going to scrape your knee doing it, or you're going to hit your thumb with the hammer once or twice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, which is cool, because I think that answered question 4 pretty well this past 10-minute conversation. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, yeah, I was going to say, like, just to tag on to it, like, I think it's a really better example than you would think, because, like, the honest truth is, like, building a bridge, like, yeah, sometimes building bridges kills people. It's dangerous work. But, like, also, you could shoot a nail through your hand with a nail gun, and, like, that would suck. It would hurt a lot, but it's not an unrecoverable situation. And, like, a huge amount of psychological growth is just letting yourself be uncomfortable enough to get in there and fix whatever the thing is. Because, like, yeah, you might bust yourself up real hard, but that's the point. Like, the point isn't to feel comfortable. The point is to, like, be uncomfortable in productive ways, at least some of the time. Like, look, don't buy into being too productive, but psychological discomfort is part and parcel to existing. And so as long as you can occasionally use it well, you're going to do okay.
And that's actually a good question before I ask this last one, or we ask this last one. That's
I have
on the
one
sheet
more.
here. And Danny has another one. Is there an anime that you would cite to, like, perhaps tell that advice to, like, so say it was me, right? And it was me coming at Nick like it was 7 years ago. And and you were trying to tell me, well, maybe you got to look at yourself, homie. Well, maybe you gotta look inward and ask yourself why you're being such a bitch to Nick. You know, is there an anime that you would cite or reference to tell me that, or to help me understand that?
Yeah, so this is one of those things where you can do a lot of behind the scenes magic, depending on what your relationship with the person is.
Sure.
If you're not super well connected to them, you might just, what do you watch? Something generic, and you just, like, go off that. But if you know somebody really well and, like, oh, they like this kind of thing, you can really bust out something that's unique to people. I will say I get a lot of mileage out of, like, your, like, big 3 kind of series, the ones that everybody watches, because then most people are literate enough in them to get your example.
Sure.
But, like, I use Naruto a huge amount to be like, hey, there's this character that does this thing. Like, okay, you remember that scene where this is happening? They're like, yeah. I'm like, look, like, a colleague of mine, he did a presentation at a convention I was at, and it was about Naruto and, like, self-reflection. And he used the example of, there's a scene in, I think it's Shippuden, in one of the training arcs, where Naruto, like, goes to, like, the waterfall, and it, like, shows him the dark reflection of himself. And he has to come to terms with, like, the inner turmoil and all the hate and negative feelings he has. And, he tries to fight it, and he tries to do all these violent things to it, and, like, it doesn't work. And obviously the solution is, like, this, like, la 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 moment where he, like, accepts the dark impulse that he has in himself and, like, attempts to heal it. But doing something like that would mean, like, hey, you've seen this kind of scene, right? Like, do you remember when this happened? Like, in what way might that relate to what you're going through? Or sometimes you do it the opposite way, where somebody will mention something and you're like, part of the trick is having to be literate enough to understand the example they're giving. But I mean, I had somebody talk to me about trauma one time, and they used an example of the Silent Hill video game series. And I was like, that's not my jam, but, like, I'm literate enough. Like, hey, in that game, this happened. Is that what you're referencing? And they're like, no. It's not, like, weird. It's this other part of it that I identify with. And so, sometimes it matters quite a lot in how you get that delivered to you. But that's actually a thing you can get. You can get a licensed competency now, or certification competency in, nerd therapy or geek adjacent therapy, where, like, how do you use movies and anime and games in helping people? So
that's so wild to me. That's like when he was before Sage Mode, right? Like before Pain.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I genuinely, I'd have to think about it really hard, but yeah, I think it is. It's before Sage Mode. It's before some of the major, like, mid to end plot points.
Okay. Yeah. Fucking wild, dude. Mm-hmm. fucking wild. Danny, what were you gonna ask something?
I was gonna ask, like, so have you seen like the show Real Life?
Yes.
Okay, so what are your thoughts as a psychologist with like the shows that kind of, I'm going to give you a second chance to redo your whole life so that you can achieve things better than you are right now?
I think it's a really interesting narrative fantasy that kind of gets at something that's really core about being a person, which is like everybody has some
Right.
level of like, I would do this totally differently, or I would, in a romantic sense, trade all of this to get this, So I think the premise really speaks to people in a lot of ways, but I think also one of the powers of shows like that is that it can show you how people prioritize things when they are given that chance. And I think that says a lot about people, but I also really appreciate when a show like that kind of goes into a certain amount of depth or detail in the trials and tribulations of that. Because, I appreciate one where like people are happy and they live their, best lives, but also like I appreciate one where like, oh yeah, that didn't turn out, that turned out pretty horribly. And also the things you assumed that you knew about your life having lived it, I think is a really important thing that you can show somebody, because just because we like live our own lives in first person most of the time, doesn't mean we actually understand any of it. And doesn't mean we actually know what is happening. And so if you go back, like you might make these mistakes that reflect the lessons that you already learned, only to find out that you like learned the exact wrong lesson, or that you were taught the wrong lesson, perhaps. Kind of depends on the context, but yeah, I appreciate what it does with that.
Well, it's like Tokyo Revengers, right? It's like every
Yeah,
time
I was
he
just
jumps
about
back,
to say that.
he fucks something up or something gets fucked up because he didn't know the whole thing. There was more than one person at work, it's kind of like, oh shit, but
yeah, well, I think it also does a nice job of like displaying the complexity that's involved in being human, right? That like,
oh yeah,
causality and the universe don't work the way we think they do, and our brains are just trying to make sense of that, and we do that in strange and uncomfortable ways. But also like there's a power in being able to kind of let that go a little and like control what you can control, and then the rest of it is just kind of up to whatever's going to happen. Because in the same way that you never know what's going to maybe get you killed, or those kind of things, like you also don't know what little thing it is going to be that pays it forward and becomes really massive in your life. And I think that's a really cool example that those kind of series can give you.
Man, after hearing you say that and knowing what happens at the end of Tokyo Revengers, I'm just like, God fucking damn it. Anyways, Danny, you haven't read the end of it yet.
I haven't. I'm rereading it because like I you know me, I read like 21.
You read it all in like a day.
No, I read like 21 volumes in 3 days. So,
yeah. But then you stopped, right? Because it got to You should just tell me what you think of the ending when you get there, because it's Anyways,
I heard like a lot of people didn't like it and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, like I'm trying.
Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
I'm trying to like. I'm trying to be open minded about it. Like the series, like it got me to read 21 volumes in 3 days. So like it's definitely a hitter for me, because like it impacted me so much that I was just like, I need to know what happens. Like,
Right.
so that's why like I literally read 3 volumes within 3 days. Like I lost, sleep because I couldn't stop reading. I just could not put it down. So it had that big of an impact on me. So I am trying to keep like an open mind about
when you
it.
get there.
Yeah. So
just let me know when you do. Put a pin on it.
Yeah.
Then we could do a fucking podcast on it and tell everyone that
I want to.
They're a bunch of bitches. No, I just to kind of give you this last question, and shout out to Nick for putting these questions on here, because he put these better questions on here. Well, actually, let me look at this really quick. Okay, never mind. Mental health sucks and you should get over it. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Just be happy.
Yeah. Says the person who's schizoaffective and bipolar. No, mental health is a complex and multifaceted topic. Yeah. In your personal or professional or, what have you opinion, what aspects of mental health are commonly explored in anime, and are there any underrepresented or overlooked aspects that you believe deserve more attention?
Ooh, yeah. So that's a good question. I will say that I think a lot of anime tend to sort of overrepresent certain things. I think because A, they're easy to portray, and B, they drive plots really nicely. So things like anxiety, I think, are pretty overrepresented in anime. I don't think it's a bad thing. There's a million different flavors of anxiety. But I think anxiety is pretty commonly explored, especially social anxiety, just because it can drive a plot.
Yeah.
So I think that's a thing. And that's not to say that it's bad. It's just that, there's a lot of them.
But yeah, there's definitely, especially in recent seasons too.
Oh yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
a lot of the anime creators are weebs.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I would say part of being a weeb and being an anime creator might lend itself pretty nicely to an anxious experience. But yeah, so that's overrepresented, I think. And I think underrepresented or overlooked. I think one of the things that I'm starting to see, but it depending on what you read, like you maybe never encounter it, is like everyday depictions of people that experience mental health, and not like in a boring biological kind of or a biography kind of a way, but a story about like somebody who has a mental health thing and then just gets on with life,
Sure.
And I think that's a really important message to send to people, because if you portray like, yes, this person has a mental illness, yes, this person struggles, and also they just get on with it and they have, and I'm not saying you have to portray it only positively, but I think that's a really good thing that could stand to be represented a little bit more. Also things that are maybe less common, or things that people think they know about, but maybe don't know everything about. Like, for example, there was a manga that was released in the last few years that was about people with developmental disorders, things like, autism, ADHD, that kind of stuff. It was really cool because it was like, here's how this person has had to navigate a life that was not designed for them. And they're fine. Like maybe they're struggling, that kind of stuff. I think that's really cool. Also, I think I could always stand to see a nice like biographical or autobiographical of like somebody who is in the industry talking about what it's like. Not to say that it has to be boring or anything like that, but
Right.
we well know that like how stuff gets made is an interesting story. And like, I think that one of the reasons why something like Evangelion works really well is that like Ano is very open about what his mental health has looked like, and has talked about it pretty openly and how it impacts the work. And not to say that everybody has to feel comfortable like airing their personal stuff out, but if you can, and it can kind of make sense to people like, oh, I watched your series and now I kind of know this little thing about you. That feels congruent for people. And also it sometimes allows people to see themselves in both art and artist, which I think is a good thing depending on what you're looking at.
Sure. What's that manga you mentioned? What's it called?
Ooh, I think it's called My Life with a Developmental Disorder or something like that.
Just straight up. Okay.
Yeah, it has developmental disorder. No, I got it. It's the main title is My Brain is Different.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what the main title is.
I'll give it
really
a
cool.
Different.
Built different, yeah.
Built
Exactly.
different. I'll give it a look see.
It's good. I mean, it's not going to win any awards or anything, but the
Sure.
story of how it got created was actually interesting. The artist the artist and writer got diagnosed with a developmental disorder late in life, and then was a mangaka and was like, oh yeah, there's probably other stories out there. And so they went and interviewed other people that had been through similar stuff, and then wrote and drew their stories, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. I think something you said there at the end there was kind of important. You said something like, not that necessarily everyone has to be open about it, but that it kind of helps other people. And I think in my work, whether it's here on the podcast with Wingus and Dingus or my other stuff that I do, I'm always really open about it because I want people to like listen and be like, oh, I love this. I love that Nick and Sam back and forth like this. I love that Danny has this. I feel the same way that Sam and Danny do about this. And maybe people won't feel so alone. You know what I mean? And I've never pushed Danny and Nick to be open about that stuff, but like it kind of comes out naturally when we're talking about even just random ass shit like, oh, why is Kirito suck? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's because of this. And then we end up talking about something else. And then maybe somebody out there listens to that and goes, oh, hey, that's legit. Right. And I think that like, I think most creators on the internet or not on the internet, like, you know, writers and draw artists, whatever, musicians, that's like the goal, right? It's like you want to put out something into the world where you can connect with people. And I hope we're doing that. I'd like to think we are. But I think that's another reason why I got so excited for you to come on is because like now we're talking about it for real, right? Because I think we've done an episode on mental health or something like it before, but it was more like personal stuff. Like, oh yeah, I relate to this character because he had diarrhea and I had diarrhea once and it sucked, you know, like I think we did that like a long time ago. I don't remember, something like that. But now here, like, you know, having you come on and kind of explain some of those nuances and how you use it in your work is, I hope someone listens to this and goes, oh, that's fucking legit. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's another reason why I was so excited for you to come on, you know? I don't pry too much into Danny and Nick's lives that much. Obviously, I show concern for them because I care about them very much. And I love them and I would kill for them, honestly. I'll fucking kill you, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'll fuck you up. But like, you know, I never force them to talk about that stuff, but like when it happens and, you know, when Nick finds a character in anime he really connects with, and it's always so fascinating to me and I love it because it means it's doing something good for him. And, like, I appreciate that. And I want to put that out into the world so other people can be like, yeah, dude, Nick is going through what I'm going through. You know, I eat a lot of brown foods too because Nick likes brown foods. You know, he likes pretzels and shit. But like, you know, just
or
like,
water flavored things.
He likes water flavored Gatorade a lot. So like, you know, maybe someone out there's listening. Oh, I like water flavored Gatorade.
No, it's a water flavored Pop-Tarts.
Water flavored Pop-Tarts, Dr. William.
Oh,
but
I'm that changes everything.
Yeah. But like, anyways, so I thank you for coming on and kind of talking. You know, I can't speak for Danny and Nick too much, obviously. Like, I know them pretty well, but like, you know, obviously I don't pry into their mental health woes all the time. Only when necessary, you know, obviously. But like, you know, I'm pretty open about it. And I've always been open about it with my listeners because I wanted to cultivate a community in our Discord where they could come in and be themselves and not worry that we're going to judge them for whatever. And I think you coming on here is just making that more so. And that's why I appreciate it. And I appreciate your time. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's been
absolutely.
fun.
And I will say thanks for having me. I think the biggest thing for me in starting doing this and talking at anime conventions and stuff like that, like part of it was I was going to those things anyway. And,
I was already a nerd.
If you, I was already a huge dork. And like, if you present, they give you a free badge. So like,
hell yeah.
I was poor. So I'm like, I can talk about stuff and also go to the con, right?
And go to the dealer's room. Yeah.
Exactly. But part of it is also like, I think my experience, especially of the anime community, has been that people are open and willing to talk about stuff and are interested in the content, more so than other fandoms in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And if you build it and you listen to the community and you ask what they want, not only will a lot of them tell you, but then if you put it on, they show up. And I think that's a really big deal because like this doesn't happen. Like I don't even get here to be on this podcast if like people aren't open to it way further back down the line, right? And I think that's a thing that's really important that speaks both of like you all doing this in this space, but also like of the anime space more generally is, you know, I go in and I listen to people and, you know, if I hear a problem that I might be able to resolve, I do my best or I put a presentation on about it. But like, it truly doesn't happen without people asking for it because like, you know, I went to like Otakon and like, there's a huge amount of people that were there and like, not in any way to be like, oh yeah, I'm like the best or whatever. But like, if people show up to it, like the people that put on cons aren't stupid. They're like, if there were 500 people in that room, you best believe the next time you do it, they're going to accept you. They're going to give you a bigger room. They're going to put you,
right,
you know, in a better time slot. And like in that way, you kind of vote with your attention and you vote with your dollar. And like, that's a thing that anime fans are good at in some ways.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me ask you this, as long as you're at it, is there another con you're going to be at giving a panel at soon here? I know we're getting towards winter now, right? So like fall and winter. So like, you know, con season is going to, you know, but there's some cons out in during the winter time and things like that. Are you going to anyone's upcoming here or?
Yeah, so I don't have anything firmly on the docket just because winter cons are a little bit fewer and far between.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, there are cons I go to basically every year. So I go to A-Kon every year in Dallas. I go to Otakon every year now in DC. I'm speaking at a convention that isn't anime. It's like academic called Serious Play. It's in Toronto. So if people are around there, you could go hear me talk about D&D and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, I post everything that I do. So if maybe you aren't around at a convention, you know, you can see the panels that I've done. Also, I'm open to going to stuff, right? So if, you know, if you can get a con and be like, hey, this person does this, you shouldn't bring them. I'm open to that kind of thing. Because I will say that now that I'm in a professional space, one of the things that's easy to do is like abuse my credentials and be like, hey, I'm a super special person and I work for this university and I do this. But it goes a long way if like people are like, hey, we want to see this person talk. So if there's a thing you want me to be at, great. If there's a video you want me to make or a talk you want me to do, I'm happy to do that kind of thing as long as it, you know, doesn't overly ruin my life or anything.
Hear that? Bunch of bitches. I know there's a fucking a bunch of con staffers that listen to this podcast.
Truth.
Holla at Chiguala. All right. And doctor, before you go, I got one more question. So I want to show you this. I've had this thing in my armpit for a couple weeks now.
God,
And it's
there
kinda
we go
concerning.
again.
The classics always work.
Yeah, and actually, I haven't put on deodorant in like 2 weeks, but it still smells like the deodorant I put on 2 weeks ago. Should I be worried about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not like that kind of doctor, but like
It smells like Old Spice
like,
Night Panther. You know Night Panther?
Oh
I
God,
do,
no,
unfortunately.
no.
That's the one with the fucking panther on the front with the kitty,
No.
you know, round. Panther cat.
Dude, that's my favorite part of like stuff for dudes. And they're like, you want to smell like a night panther? And you're like,
Oh,
yeah, bro,
no.
obviously.
That's so fucking funny about like one of my journeys, like transition, like being a trans woman, is I'm still stuck
Yeah.
on like male things that I love. Like I love Old Spice and I love
Oh,
like
yeah.
cologne. Like I love smelling like cologne. Show up in a dress and like full makeup, and they're like, "Dude, you smell handsome," and I'm like, "Thank you." Like, I'm just like,
You're like, I feel
Yeah.
handsome.
like
Thanks.
slay queen, but you smell handsome. Like it's like, okay, thank you. Yeah, it's like that's what I was
my
going
favorite
for.
part about the moment we inhabit in this world is that you can do all of those things at once, and like not everybody's gonna be down, but like some people are gonna be like, yes,
yeah, no, for real.
all
Yeah,
the buttons at once.
it's definitely an interesting part of like my journey transitioning. It's super funny. But no, seriously, can you take a look at this real quick?
See, that's actually the best part of being a doctor. And now that I have all this stuff, since we're friends now, I can't actually look at it. It would be an ethical conflict for me.
Ah.
Hoisted by your own petard again.
Oh,
Sam.
man.
Damn it.
The amount of times I've dropped that on my family is great. They're like, I need help with this. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Like, it would be unethical of me to say anything. Oh, man. Isn't that such a shame?
Yeah.
See, I can't do that in my profession because, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, if I have family who is like oh, Danielle, can you, my back hurts. Can you, massage my shoulders and stuff? I'm all like,
They're taking advantage of you.
yeah.
You're like, no, get
But
a new back. Deal with it."
I actually do make them make appointments with me though, because like,
Good.
Yeah.
Make them pay.
Yes. Yes.
no, I'll do it for free. Like my mom, I'll do it for
Oh,
free,
you're
but
nicer
like
than me.
I do like if she'll unless it's an emergency, like with my mom especially, if she actually like is in diehard like in pain, I will drop everything like a hat and just help her. But majority of the time, I do like make people okay. Like I'm available this day. Are you available that day? Because I'm not just gonna like come over and do that for you. Like I'm tired.
There's a whole Seinfeld episode on that.
God, everyone take a shot.
Gary
Nick
gets
gets
a
a
massage therapist girlfriend.
We did it. We got there.
We
He
got
keeps like putting her hands on his shoulders. He's like, oh, my shoulders are so stiff.
it.
It's
Oh
like the only
man,
reason he dated her.
my shoulders. Oh man, Doc, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. This has been amazing. This is like, I love these kinds of topics. We've been reviewing so much shit lately that I'm just like, nah, man, I want to talk about some shit. Like, let's talk about let's get in there. You know what I mean? So I appreciate your time. I'm really excited that you were on here, and it's been really, really awesome. And I hope people get a lot out of this. And again, links in the description for Dr. William. And like, hit that subscribe button. Okay. Let's get subbed. Let's pump these sub numbers up. A lot of panels on here that you can watch. Mental health and anime psychopaths, review of Final Fantasy IV, looking back at a class. Oh, by the way, Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, just so you know.
It's one of mine also. I played the first 4.5 for like a yearly series. 4 was my favorite and 1 was my second.
1, people don't realize how good 1 is, man. Like
stealthy good. It's also like D&D, but like a game, and like I love it.
yeah. The reveal at the end is just, oh, holy shit, dude. It's so
Chef's
good.
kiss.
Chef's kiss. Shinji Ikari character deep dive. Like, I mean, that's on there, right? And then obviously, a little behind the scenes sausage. The doc had told us that he is upgrading his equipment to upload some of these other panels he's got going on. So you can be excited about that. But yeah, dude, putting it out there. The description's in the link is in the description. Okay, so go sub, follow, visit the website, and again, thank you for coming on, Will. I appreciate your time. It's been amazing. So, if you guys would like, I can send you a picture of my armpit so you guys can take a look also, because I don't think Dr. Williams much help. But that being said,
Unfortunately, not being helpful.
Yeah. That being said, I love you guys very much. I love you just the way you are. I've been Sam. That's been Danny. That's been Nick. And with us tonight was Dr. William Nation. And we've been the Anime Summit Podcast. Just look really quick. Like, it'll take 10 seconds.
That's the thing. If you look once, then they want you to look twice. And look, I don't play that game with people.